We all love big, gorgeous, and fabulous things, but we can't forget about the tiny, beautiful things, which is what we're talking about in today's episode of Super Soul Sit Down.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Hey, we're in here on a Monday. I love the beat. I just have to do something.
Feeling a little bit like it's not Monday, though, because, of course, celebrating Labor Day. Did you do anything fun? I think you were working,
yeah,
right?
I went to work. Laboring on Labor Day. It's all good. The American way, right?
I took today to kind of do nothing, and I feel like that's there we go.
Yes.
It's like self-work, so I worked, too. I just took a much-needed relaxing day, which was good.
It just looked different. And now we're going to do a little bit more work.
Yes.
Because today we are talking about Cheryl Strayed. She wrote a book called Tiny Beautiful Things, which I love because sometimes we're so focused on all these grandiose things that happen, but really the things that matter can be so tiny. It's a day off and enjoying that like you did today and, things like that and making little tweaks to our intentions and attitudes and whatever else we can do. So we're going to talk about all that stuff today. And we want you guys to stick around to the end because we also have Own Your Soul. And Haley did a really fun poll on Instagram. We're going to share those results with you as well. So welcome to Super Soul Sit Down, the after show for Super Soul Conversations by Oprah. I am your super excited to be here host, Jamie, and I am sitting next to the ever so lovely spirited Haley J.
Hi, guys. Haley J. back at it on a Monday. And, of course, we're always ready to dive on in.
Yes, so let's do it. So for those of you who don't know who Cheryl Strayed is, Oprah had a conversation with her, but she's the author of #1 New York Times bestselling memoir Wild, the New York Times bestseller Tiny Beautiful Things, and Brave Enough, and the novel Torch. So Wild actually was chosen by Oprah as her first selection for her book club 2.0, and Strayed's books have been translated into nearly 40 languages around the world and have been adapted for both the screen and the stage, including an Oscar-nominated movie adaptation of Wild, which stars Reese Witherspoon, which was super cool.
That's incredible. It's one thing to get your message out there and finally get your book published, but to see it do so well, to see Oprah give it the recognition, and then, no big deal. Oprah is one of her best friends, Reese Witherspoon, just playing you. I can't even imagine how that must feel to know that your words affected so many people and they want to put it on the big Hollywood screen. I actually haven't seen the movie yet, but especially after listening to this, I know it's been out for a while, but I'm like, I need to see this now.
I know, maybe we'll do that and make it our homework.
Can we do that?
We'll see it over the
maybe some wine
week.
and just, talk about our thoughts.
Get our Super Soul sit down on. Yeah, so one thing that I really loved about her with Cheryl was her voice. She was so peaceful. I could just tell she's been through some things and worked through some things.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
It's funny how you can tell in someone's voice too, and it's even like we do it ourselves. So you're all panicked and you're rushed, and then when you finally get to that peace, like everything about you just seems slower and calmer, and it radiates from all different crevices of your body and even in your voice. And the fact that you could pick that up is telling.
Yeah, it was very, she's grounded. So go ahead, Cheryl, with your rooted self. That's awesome. So, of course, something that we talk about often is taking responsibility on this show. And the first thing that Oprah said was really adamant about you own your own life. Like, whether you're rich, poor, angry, sad, whatever it is, you have to own your own stuff and do your own thing. What do you think about that idea of self-pity being dead and taking the reins on your life?
What really stuck out to me immediately is when Cheryl said, we have this idea that telling people about our horrible experiences or repeating that, we got screwed over, or this happened is like, somehow we think that that's going to release us from that. And I'm guilty of that. I've caught myself, repeating stories of I had a bad day and this happened and things were out of my control and it wasn't my fault. And I had to stop and think, like, do I think by telling multiple people that that's going to release me from the pain it caused me? Or can I say this happened, it sucked, but what am I going to do? Let's move on and not allow that energy to keep taking more than it already took from me. And I'm giving it all that power to do that every single time I bring it up to someone new. And I think it's one thing to tell your friends and vent, get it off your chest. I think that's important. But it's also like, once you put it out there, release it and let it go.
Yeah, I mean, that's advice I could definitely take because I can be a little bit of a venter and I've had to reel it in because that's how my emotions work. I'm very emotional. But once it comes out and I'm done, I'm done. I don't need to rehash it. I might story tell and it might be very vibrant and you might feel like you were just there, but I promise I'm over it. But getting through that is something that I definitely want to focus on too.
Yeah, see, I felt a little called out, but in a good way, where I've noticed that I have had days where I tell, and I think it's a part of me just wants to fill everyone in on my life, but I think sometimes everyone doesn't need to know everything, and it's healthier for me to let it go once I am done with it, but to be done with it faster, basically.
Yeah, so she was saying, the story of complaint and relinquishing like sorrows of the past. It sounds kind of dramatic, like sorrows of the past. It sounds like 10 years ago, but it can be something as soon as like yesterday, like that made me sad. Or what I like about the word relinquish is a powerful word. It's like one thing that I know I want to work on also is, to not give those old stories so much power, because then you're living backwards instead of reaching forward. Like, sure, things, even yesterday, an hour ago and all the way in the past could have been whack. But this hour and forward could be like the bombest life ever if I let it happen.
Right. It's like any part of you that's holding on to negative energy, whether it was 5 minutes ago or 5 years ago, that's still weighing you down to some capacity. And you're 100% right that it is up to us. And we're the only ones that can do it to choose how we want to take that next step.
Yep. Yeah,
and I think that's how we are responsible for bringing it into our lives, because we literally are. We continue to hold on to it.
Yeah, well, I'm taking responsibility because
right now,
yes, it is September, and so I was sharing with Haley in the month of July, I did this whole thing on Instagram, comparison cleanse, the ways we can stop comparing ourselves to our old self, other people, social media, all that, and this month, I'm very inspired to dedicate myself to renewal of the mind, because everything that we talk about has to do with the mindset. And I always tell people, no matter if you're thinking about becoming a parent, getting into a relationship, entrepreneurship, all of that is fine. Creativity, relationships, all of that. But if your mind ain't right, like, it's going to be hard to navigate. Life is hard as it is already, but I'm just saying, like, the biggest thing that I want to conquer is the power I have over my own mind, my own thoughts, and my emotional maturity.
Absolutely.
So I'm dedicated.
It's the concept of, what does your foundation look like before you start building? So I believe the mind is your foundation. If you don't get that straight, then everything you build is eventually going to topple down because it's not secure in the first place.
Yeah.
But that's where these discussions live, because it's so much easier said than done to get that mind right. And I think forgiveness in understanding that you can have a solid month, 2 months, 3 months where like you're thinking straight, everything's good, and then you might fall down again. But I think it's the strength to forgive, to not hold on to the mistakes of yesterday or that day, and to move forward again.
Yeah, and I like to call that grace. Just some good old grace. Like, God gives us grace. Can we give ourselves some grace? I think when I think about the power of your mindset and, relinquishing the past and all of these things, I look at it like going to the gym. And I may have mentioned this before, but it's like you can work out 3 weeks straight, but there's going to be a moment where you got the cookies or you got the this or that, but your body has muscle memory. So when you get back on it, the snapback is a lot faster.
Right.
And I think it's the same with these mind trainings and being intentional and releasing emotions and doing things like that. Even if you do slip, once you're cognizant of it, you can get back into the rhythm of being happy, healthy, peaceful, and having a more positive mindset.
I agree. And I was kind of proud of myself with this past week. Was not the best, I will say. I had some definitely struggle times, but I challenged myself to look for the good in every single thing that happened. And that was the first time where I was like, yeah, life happens for us. But I was like, no, let's really try and figure out why this happened. And every single, bad thing that happened, I was able to find a lesson out of it. And I immediately learned it right then. I was like, okay, I see it now. And it did help my perspective moving forward. And even last night wasn't great, but I wrote a song for the first time in 6 months. And I think that I had to be in that mind space to bring out that song. And so I'm like, okay, I guess that's why that happened. And you just forgive yourself and go along the way, which it's a challenge, but I think we can grow if we have that right perspective.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. I love that. I was going to ask you what was one of the struggles and what came out of it, but that's perfect. Artistry, creativity, if you were feeling some kind of way, but a song came out of it and you haven't written in 6 months. That's amazing.
And that was the thing too. I didn't have any intention of sitting down and writing, but I was like, you know what? I'm just inspired. I'm going to record this right now. And I'm excited about it too. Like, that's the cool thing. Like, it can lead to new things, and September, new month, and who knows what's going to happen.
I love it. I love when it's the first, and I love that the first started on the first day of the week, a Sunday. And my week was interesting too. So I went to New York for a wedding, and I think this show, the new moon, the beginning of the month, and some of the happenings that have gone on in the past week have really given me clarity and opened my eyes to some things. And mostly when it comes to love, I was in a situation where I was trying to date someone, I guess that's what you can say. And there's a part of me that knew it kind of wasn't working out, but at the same time, I was getting confused on whether, okay, is this a red flag or something we need to work on? Am I being too mean? Mm-hmm. The disease to please, is that what Oprah called it? Or you have the disease to please? Right. I think she said that. So it's like all of these things, but...
And it's apparently contagious, because a lot of us women especially have it.
Yes, so when I was thinking about love, I was like, you know what? Even though the situation didn't work out, I'm not as falling apart as I'd normally be. It's like I have a clear perspective, in the sense that something in this show that really stood out is like, we can change our mind. And it's not the end of the world. Like, even though I exchanged ideas with this person as if we were going to be together long term, that wasn't the case. And I feel okay with it, because I know in the long run, that just wasn't going to be it. And it feels good to not feel mean about it. Because even whether it's just you or the other person, if you're not in belief about where you can head, you start to force puzzle pieces that don't really work. And that doesn't serve anyone.
It sounds like you really just tapped into your truth, and you didn't question it. You just believed it. You said, this is a message that my mind and my heart is telling me, and I need to go with that.
Yeah.
And that's so cool. Like, that's a really awesome thing that you did that. And that's the thing, from the outside, I would have no idea you just went through like a breakup, because you're just like, I got it. I know what's good for me and what's not. And it doesn't mean that person's a bad person. It's just not your fit, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. On my way to New York, it's just a mini story, but on my way to New York, my brain was so heavy with all of these thoughts. And I was like, in prayer, like, Lord, I'm making an idol out of this situation. I'm thinking more about what's going on and what's happening and what than I am about being open to the present moment.
Can we talk about repeated messages? Because I keep hearing that over and over, that you're giving your issue, you're making that the winner, and you're giving all of your attention to the negative, and you're just raising up your devils, basically. And I'm like, why am I doing that? And I really was. And so that sounds exactly what you did. And then I did want to talk about when Oprah said you have the right to change your mind.
Yes.
It occurred to me that I never really say, oh, I'm not going to do this because I changed my mind. It's almost like, do you ever catch yourself saying, I'm not, because I just changed my mind? Like, I said I was going to do this, but you find yourself making some excuse. You find yourself doing everything but saying, oh, I just changed my mind. Because it's almost like we feel like we shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, in some areas I've become real good at it, because there's a part of me that could just be like, yup, and I'm not doing it. Yeah. But then there's also some situations where I want to dance around it, again, because I want to be nice. Mm-hmm. I don't want people not to like me. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Even though if I was really thinking, about myself and the other person, I would just be honest. Because that's what I would want. I wouldn't want somebody... I had a girlfriend once, and I was in her closet. I was like, ooh, girl, could I borrow this? And she was like, no, because that's my favorite. And I know it was so hard for her to say no, but I was appreciative, because I'm like, girl, I don't want to be out in your stuff and you're just like cringing over, like, if I spill anything on it, what's going on? That's my favorite outfit. I'd rather you just be like, no, I changed my mind. Like, you can't wear anything. And again,
you can also say it in a nice way. You don't have to be mean to people about things.
Yeah.
It's like your approach has a lot to do with it too.
That part, the approach, definitely. I can receive that. So just going in that, what they said on the show too is when you do what you want, as opposed to do what will make me happy. Doing what others want as opposed to doing what will make you happy. It kind of goes back to the same thing. Like, I'd rather stay true to me than try to stay true to you, because that is a flighty, how do I explain it? If I'm trying to do something for you, you're an outside force. But if I'm being true to me, truth has weight to it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it leaves less, opportunity for signals to get crossed that way. I think if we're being true to ourselves, but I think we tell ourselves a story that we need to do things for other people.
And I think that's why, relating back to Cheryl's book Wild, I think that was why she had to separate from everyone else and be alone and take that journey, because all of those outside voices really did start to affect her, and she needed to figure out what she wanted. And you didn't see the movie, right?
No, I didn't.
We didn't see it, but thankfully our AfterBuzz amazing producer did.
Yes.
So he, I think he has some tips for us about what he thought and what he took from it. So can you chime on in? Can we hear you?
Hey guys, Ryan
Yes.
Nilsson here. I'm the head of the Popcorn Talk Network here at AfterBuzz TV, and love producing this show, Super Soul Sit Down. It's really interesting you brought up this guest today. I wasn't familiar with her entire life, but I did see the film Wild because I see movies all the time. And the film Wild it's so
Is
good.
it wild?
First off, yes, it is wild. Reese Witherspoon. But just speaking on Cheryl, is it Strayed? Strayed?
I believe so. Straight.
Strayed.
Yes, she.
Strayed.
What's so fascinating about it is like she goes on this major walk because her mom just passed away and she's recovering from an addiction of heroin. Which, we're talking about things going on in our lives, not saying one's worse than the other, but those are two really bad things.
Gotta be extremely difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, that's two major blows right there. But what's so fascinating about the film is that it just shows someone kind of escaping from their current life, like their reality, and just going on a journey. It's a 1,100-mile walk on the Pacific Crest Trail.
That's wild.
It is wild.
I just can't even put myself in that place. I can't imagine.
Not at all. I mean, and the film just kind of shows all what goes through her mind and just kind of resetting herself. And I feel like with this show, Super Soul, and just talking about the conversation of life's going to throw a bunch of punches at you, and how we deal with it. We all deal with it in different ways, and her way was really fascinating, and how she just went on this journey. Now, I know a lot of people don't have the luxury or maybe financial ability to just kind of take off and go on a walk for a while, but it was really interesting to think like that escape can really reset your mind like it did for Cheryl. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would get emotional watching it, but it was
We gotta watch this.
it was
I
pretty
know.
fascinating. Yeah, it spoke a lot about how just an escape from reality and really just putting yourself out of your comfort zone can totally reset. It goes back to what you were saying, Haley, about just following on, like your mind resets when you get into a rhythm. And she went on this big trip so that when she comes back, she could really reset back into her everyday life.
Well, and I think just even on a smaller scale, if you're not able to take this big and potentially dangerous trip, you can at least separate yourself, maybe go to the beach for a weekend with just like one good friend, or put down your phone for the whole weekend. I think just that concept of sometimes you need to reset everything, and that a lot of times means changing your environment. I think that's also a big takeaway from her journey. But I would be kind of terrified to be alone. But from my takeaway, it seems like every fear in her life already happened. So I think it removed her fear going forward for this journey.
It was hitting a bottom, I think. She
Right.
talked about like she had to hit a bottom before she could really fully recover, and I think that was just the way that she was able to reset. Yeah, and change of environment, or just maybe taking those vacation days. Even if you don't have a vacation planned, like you might just need that day off. Like sometimes we get so consumed in our work
Yes.
that you need that break. And this was a really healthy break for her. And I think a lot of people don't take breaks like that. I feel like when a lot of people schedule vacations, it's so much work just getting there, when really the vacation you might need is just time at home or time away by yourself.
Well put. I would agree. I think that, there's this fine line between everyone saying, "Oh, I need a me day," and I know schools are incorporating, kids to be able to take mental health days, but
great.
I think as long as that's not taken advantage of, it's absolutely amazing to see the generations moving forward focusing on that, because I do think it's extremely important to not only open the conversation to that we're all struggling, and I really believe that when we talk about things, it's really, really going to decrease the amount of shootings and horrible things that we're seeing, because I believe the base of it is conversations and your, mental well-being. Obviously, you're not in a good place if you would do something like that. So I think the worst part is sometimes these people just need people to talk to, and everything could be different if they just had someone show them that they care.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a huge part of things. And I would love thank you so much for sharing
Thank
that,
you,
by the way.
Ryan.
Like, that was the best.
Producer Ryan, everybody.
Okay.
Of course. Thank you. Keep it up, you guys.
Yes, thank you. So one thing when you guys were talking, what I was hearing is, yeah, we don't do enough of it. Our society and the things that we have, the way things are set up are about hustle and work and do this, do that. But I'm going to tell you now, I don't know if it's because I don't have kids or maybe because I grew up as a military brat, but when it's time for me to take a break, I have no shame. If it means quit the job, move across the country, whatever I have to do, I'm willing to do it because I'd rather do that. And then, to be honest, figure out how I'm going to pay my bills later. Like, I give myself the time and space. Back to even when I said New York, I was so depressed in California, I couldn't see anything anymore. So I moved myself across the country. I moved to New York City by myself because I just did. I had a dream. My friend had a dream. That was all of the word I needed to make that move. And it ended up changing my life. And sometimes you have to, this is an opportunity too to see hitting rock bottom as a blessing. It never feels like it, but it really is. What do you think about those rock bottom moments when you're like down to nothing?
Well, I fortunately don't think I can even say I've been to rock bottom. And the low moments I've had, like even just these last couple of weeks that were a little tough for me. Like I said, I was trying to find out why these things were happening, and they suck at the time. Like, that's not things that you want to deal with. They're not feelings you want to feel. But it is true that without those experiences, the moments of realization wouldn't be as bright. They wouldn't make sense the way they do after going through everything. And even, working your way up the line in a career, like you realize that like you're so much more well prepared and you're capable of that position because you worked every step of the way and the grind, and then hopefully you would respect the people below you because you know exactly where that was you and you want to give them that same respect. So I do think these are the realities of life, and just taking things in as experiences too, not putting so much weight on this is horrible, but okay, this is something I'm experiencing and it's going to be okay. And it's a repeated message I have to tell myself, but yeah. I ultimately think it works in our favor if we choose to see how that's happening for us.
Yeah, even in the podcast, maybe it wasn't the exact words, but everything that happens to us is for us. The good things and the bad things are used for our greater good. And I totally agree with that. And sometimes we're not able to see it until it's
sometimes
in retrospect.
Sometimes takes a long time, right? I was going to say that.
Like, wait a minute.
And let me ask you, so you went to New York, so what brought you back to California?
Oh my gosh, I was going through hell. It was crazy. Like, you guys, like, I don't even know where to begin with this. Even going back to New York on this trip, it's just wild how things meet full circle. Like, I wanted to do a favor for someone when I got there. So that's what I focused on, because I said that prayer I told you about. I was feeling heavy on the plane. Then I was like, you know what? Let me focus on what I want to do and the good things. I want to bless somebody with something. So I focused on that. Didn't know how I was going to get there. And long story short, it all worked out. The Uber driver, this, that, and the other. And so when this guy offered me a favor to take me exactly where I needed to go, when I got in the car, we talked about God for 45 minutes. And what it reminded me of was before that moment when I left New York and had to come back home. Because I was raised in believing in God, but then you get older and you're kind of like, oh, Buddhism and nature, and what are these Muslims talking about? Like, I don't know. I became very explorative in my spiritual walk. But 3 weeks before stuff really hit the fan, I could feel God calling me back. It was the oddest thing. Like, I wrote a letter, dropped it off the bridge. I know I'm jumping all over.
I kind of love that. That's so
I just
cool.
had a moment where I had to release things, right? So I write this letter because things were getting tough and I could feel it. I could feel something bad was about to happen. So I dropped this letter off the bridge. I used to live on the West River. And when I was done, I had a moment of releasing things. I looked down and I found a quarter. Well, that quarter had my birth year on it. So I just knew God was speaking to me. So this is why we can't be bogged down with worry and doubts and stress. I have to be able to, it's not, oh, that was a quarter. It's like, wait a minute. I feel something happening. I just had a moment. I look down. This has my birth. It was a rebirth.
Back to her book. It's the little things that you noticed.
It's the tiny little things that are so beautiful. And
because I think it takes us being present to see the tiny things.
Man, you have to. We have to clear the clutter of our minds in order to receive that.
I noticed that when we do find ourselves so go, so busy on our schedule, we start to take for granted life. And we start to think that we live in this ever ongoing existence, and we, not to be all morbid, but we don't think that we're gonna die. We're just like, this is forever and we got to do this, and I have to make this deadline because I have this for my job. But what if it all, not to be so depressing, but what if it all just stopped? What can you look back and say?
That happens to people every day.
Yeah, like what can you, exactly, it does happen to people every day. And I think if we get these lessons now, that we don't have to have something terrible to happen to understand it. If we can just live our lives and check in with ourselves and be like, I'm feeling, and it's good to be passionate. That's the thing too. Like we also live in a world where we are taught that, especially this industry, we're taught that we need to be the go-getters. We need to show them that we'll be first in line. We'll be last to leave. But sometimes all of that, me needing to be the best, makes you the worst on the inside. So I think it is being clear with what works for you. And if you feel so miserable doing something that you say you want, maybe it's time to refocus.
And not only that, like Cheryl said, she's like, I need to take a nap, y'all. Like, I'm not going to be going hard like that. I need to take a break.
And it took her being 50. And even Oprah said she remembers when she turned 50 and these moments they have. And I think there is a beauty with realizing things as you age. But I also think that we are living in a time of luxury where we have podcasts and it's basically like we're sitting down with Oprah Winfrey getting this free advice on a podcast platform that, why wait? Why not get these lessons that we have the, luck and gratitude to learn now? Let's like incorporate that now.
Yeah. And whether you're 14, 25 or 50, you can get these lessons. It's easy accessible. And one thing that you said that stood out to me is, maybe we don't have to get to these terrible things in order to get the lesson. But I think that, yes. And I also feel like, back to the story I was kind of sharing, the only way I was able to get through is because I could see those tiny things. Because it was definitely a storm. It was a whirlwind. But the little things like the quarter and the moments that I was feeling, me feeling God calling me back, me undergirding myself with a word that I knew would get me through things. It was almost like I was living in a cloud while all of this stuff was going on around. So there's something very valuable in being as present as possible, not looking at things like you said, oh my God, it's horrible, it's this, it's that. But if you can truly see that, okay, this will be used for my good. Let me take a deep breath. Okay. And then, whatever you believe in, God's got my back, or I'm going to be okay. What do I need to see in this? Not being so busy so you can't check in with how you feel. All of these things, completely matter.
I kind of felt like I was in middle school again when I did this, but it was just that simple. We've heard this a million times. Believe in yourself. It's on every home decor thing in TJ Maxx. But I wrote on my paper that I have this list of ideas and stuff, and I wrote believe in yourself. And I think those 3 words, as cliche, as overheard as they might be, it's almost like we say it so many times that we stopped actually taking the importance of what it says. And I just need to get back to believing I'm brought here for a reason. And it's not going to happen overnight because it's not supposed to, because I still have things I need to learn. And clearly, the lessons of the last couple weeks, I just, little dumb mess ups at work. But I noticed that, my mind's not in the right place and I need to be appreciative of that in-between process. And that's going to make me that much more prepared when I get to where I'm supposed to be. And as much as I want it to happen tomorrow, it could happen tomorrow, but it's just I have to trust in that process and let that stuff go.
And it's so funny because when you said that, what I'm hearing, I don't know if it's just for you, but I'm like, it's happening now. So whatever it is, it's happening now. Yeah. Because, there are people in rooms and on emails and all of these things talking about us and we don't have any idea. Because when it actually unfolds, it's because there was all of this stuff going on.
My roommate just said that exact thought.
See, that works for you, girl.
She's like, we could be sitting here and having, all of these stresses, all of these thoughts, but we don't know if someone is, sending your check in the mail the moment you're thinking it's not coming or something like that. And I actually had a quick little story. I actually had a really funny just lesson of how we're just so in our heads and we're usually wrong about what people think of us.
Completely, yes.
One of my friends, we were sitting on the couch and I had this feeling that I was just like talking too much and like being kind of annoying. And I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm like making too many comments and being weird. And she was literally having the exact opposite thought, where she thought I didn't like the movie because she didn't think I was laughing at it. So we were having the
so
complete
funny.
opposite like thoughts. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, to this situation, we're just talking about a movie, but how many times does that probably happen in life? How many times are our own thoughts so powerful that it becomes reality to us, but we could be so wrong and we could sabotage things for ourselves just because we're stuck up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think the best way, just like Cheryl did, the best way to get out of being stuck in your mind is to take a break, go in nature, do whatever you can do. If you don't have the time at work, take it anyway. I'm sorry.
Did I tell you that my therapist actually recommended this to me? She said to start taking my lunch breaks outside.
Yeah.
So I pack my little towel and I have myself a little picnic, and sometimes it's awkward when the leaf blower man comes out and I'm trying to eat lunch, but I do feel better just that 30 minutes of separating myself, being outside in nature and a little spot in the shade. I'm like, wow, sometimes this is like all it takes to just feel better.
So why do you think we construct all of that stuff in our mind? Do you think it's to keep ourselves safe? Do you think it's because it makes it comfortable? Do you think it has anything to do with vulnerability or lack thereof? Like, why do you think
I think it's a mixture of a lot of things. I think people around us and that whole, like you were saying, comparison, I think wanting to make sure that we are seen as successful, that we see ourselves as successful. There's a lot of outside pressure. So I think, unfortunately, and this is what's frustrating to me, that it's so much easier for our mind to go to a negative place before positive. Like, it's easier to say what you don't like about yourself before you focus on what you do like about yourself. And I want to reconstruct my mind to choose the positive voice over that like devil. So I think it's a hard thing, because you're like, how do I kind of get rid of my subconscious? That's the hardest part, of turning off those thoughts that are just there. So I just want to train that subconscious mind to be positive thoughts instead of negative ones.
Well, we're doing that this month because I feel it so heavy in my spirit. It's a renewal of the mind. It's like doing crunches. If I do 100 crunches a day, I'm coming out at the end of the month with some abs, okay?
Sure.
So we're going to be doing
Would you have abs if you did that?
Yeah, I think so.
You probably would.
Yeah. Well, you got to watch what you eat too, which is the same thing as watching what you feed your subconscious.
It's like a balance of everything.
A balance, right? What we're watching, what we're listening to, what we're saying, all has everything to do with how we retrain our subconscious.
What we are choosing to take in, whether we realize it or not. And that's why you have to be so careful.
You do.
With social media especially, because even if you're browsing and browsing, if you keep clicking on those things, those are the things with the algorithm that's going to come up. So if that's not serving you, if you're just, I don't look like her, she's prettier than me, I need to have her butt, you're gonna that's a negative cycle that you're not going to get out of, because you're literally just reinforcing those images to show up.
Reinforcing. And affirmations ain't gonna work for you if you're watching, Love and Hip Hop. It could be cool sometimes. You gotta take it in dosage.
The Hollywood one I watch.
Yeah, it's not bad, but you know what I'm saying? If it's constantly like, whoop, whoop, but then you're like, I'm peaceful in the mirror. I'm peaceful. I'm happy. I love people. But then at night you're watching people cussing each other out. It's counterproductive.
Right. It's a balance of like, okay, I'm in a good place. That's why I usually do like one episode at a time. And the same things with like shows like 13 Reasons Why. I really enjoy that show, but I typically only watch it in small doses, because then I turn on Queer Eye after it or Super Soul when I'm feeling. Sometimes if I'm stressed, like I just put on an Oprah episode and I'm like, there's always such a good message, and I always feel better after listening to it. So it's finding those little things for you that work, and like you don't need to apologize for not wanting to go out one night. I used to even feel this guilt, like I'm 26, I should always want to go out and party, but I don't. Yeah. So there's that. I don't need to feel guilty for not wanting to be at a club every night. Sorry, I don't want to.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry.
One thing I totally love too about this episode, and this I've learned to embrace. I don't embrace it all the time, because when I'm going through it, I can, I'll have my vent fest, but being tested is a gift. Like, everything being seamless is boring. And I do think about it when I tell you guys these stories or I share with you things, it's because I overcame and came through some wild stuff. And I'm still here, and I don't look like what I went through. I don't, you know what I mean?
It gives you character and layers and...
Yes, and depth and ability to help others. Like,
for me, I can relate it to looking at a picture, because Okay, no shame to sorority girls, but sometimes I remember like I would see a picture of a bunch of like absolutely beautiful sorority girls, but they're all like so perfect looking and all wearing, the same dress and the same pose. And to me, I'm like, yeah, you look gorgeous, but like I'd rather see like a raw photo of like a cool girl in a punk band or just like something different. So, and it's just like, to me, it's just more exciting. And so that concept, bringing back to Cheryl when she said, if everything in life was perfect and it was seamless, that eventually would not fulfill you at all. And back to what you said earlier, her idea of saying self-pity, it's just a dead end road. You're not getting out of that mind space if you're like, poor me, poor me. It's just like, sorry, it's like you're not working towards anything. And just this idea that you can reclaim yourself and just accepting that you can't change the past. I'm working on that a lot. I've caught myself replaying mistakes or things I would have done differently, but I'm like, well, you didn't do it differently. This is what you did. So let's move on, or continue throwing the pity party of one, because other people need to move on and live their lives and they don't need to hear your sob story.
Yeah, I definitely think, I don't know, any of you guys into numerology, I have to figure out what number 9 signifies.
I see the same numbers all the time.
Yeah, so I totally believe in that.
And I looked it up, and my tattoo matches the meaning.
Oh,
that's
see?
a whole new, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's totally a thing.
LA.
I know. It's so But why I'm saying that is because I just really, there's something about this month starting that has really birthed something new in everybody. I feel like everybody's ready to go. We're ready to change our minds. We're ready, because I feel like about 2 months ago, it was like, oh, we're going to level up. Everybody's going to level up. And sure, like you have to have those thoughts and it's a process to trickle down. But now I just feel like we are moving past issues we've been dealing with for a long time. We're dealing with problems in such a much more healthier way now. I just feel something new. So I just feel like 9 for September. 9 has to be something new. So I don't know,
wait to see
but
what
it has
that
to be
is.
something. I'm just feeling it.
I feel that energy too, and to shed the good and the light of social media, I feel like when I see posts about, because I just saw that September is all about beginnings, and I know each month obviously starts with a 1, and that's the beginning, but I do feel like I've seen it a lot more with September, especially, and the idea that people are posting things like this tells me, look at, here we go, we're all in the same boat.
Consciousness.
Yeah, we're all feeling this way. So it does make you feel better when you're like, it's not just me. We all struggle. And I think it's that sense of community is what brings us together.
Yeah, well, shoot, with that being said, it sounds like a perfect opportunity to talk about Cheryl. I know you have some great news and gossip on her.
Yeah.
So let's dive right in and see what you got to say about that.
So this is really cool. She was actually one of 10 women that was represented for the Statues for Equality Project. So I think it was last Monday or the Monday before, I think it was just last Monday actually, Women's Equality Day. So in Manhattan, a husband and wife artist, their names were Gilly and Mark Shatner, they wanted to balance gender representation to the public through forms of art. So Cheryl is one of 10 women represented.
That's amazing.
And I just think that's the coolest thing. Like, what a feeling to be represented in such a positive way, and then to have a couple bring that to life through art where everyone can see it and everyone can be reminded that this is what it's about. Like, I just think that's the coolest thing, and I was happy to see that success. Obviously, she's had a lot of success through her book already, but just to see this come to life for the Women's Equality Day was especially exciting for her.
Yeah, I love that. And it ties seamlessly into what we were just talking about, this kind of collective consciousness when we're all together, because Cheryl moving in her purpose and what she felt was she was vulnerable enough to share with the world, inspired another couple who knows it's important for people to see and know that. So they work together to make this happen just by being who they are. That's amazing.
Yeah, and like we said last week, sometimes if we don't see why the bad things happened, someone else does. And sometimes it takes us learning how that affected other people to then realize the good effects it has back on us, seeing that you made that change in someone else's life because of what you went through. I think that's when those moments do make sense, and just believing that it will make sense.
Yeah, it fills you up. It's reciprocal energy. Energy is reciprocal. What you put out comes back.
That's so true.
Yeah. So that, I just love that.
And how we're responsible for the energy we bring to a room.
Just
no matter
saying.
what day you had, any room you walk into is a new door to bring in a new energy, and it's up to you.
Yeah, I think Oprah said last episode, karma doesn't lose an address.
Yep.
So, not to put the fear into you, but at the same time.
But it's gonna come.
But it's coming. All that to say. So this is a perfect time to talk about Own Your Soul. This is our special segment where we find a way to take this lesson in our week and own our own soul.
Your journey to become more inspired and connected to the deeper world around us starts right now.
Soothing Oprah.
I know. I was like, ah. So, Haley, I love how you do these Instagram thingies and polls every week that we do this. So share the inspiration behind this one and what the results were.
Well, Cheryl was talking about being vulnerable, and that I believe her exact words were saying that vulnerability, to say that's a weakness is a lie, and that the bravest thing we can actually do is tell the truth. So I just wanted to bring it to social media and ask people that followed me if it was hard for them to be vulnerable. And it was kind of down the middle. I think we are making progress with a lot of people being a lot more open these days about how they're feeling. But the majority, 57% over 43% saying no, still does feel like it's hard for them to show those inner feelings. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm interested in this. I don't know what I would have expected to see the numbers. And again, for myself, vulnerability, it's a tough one. It's case by case almost. Because if I haven't healed from something, then it will be hard for me to be vulnerable about it, because the wound isn't healed. I don't want you poking at it right now.
Yeah.
Let me, but then some stuff is just like, you know what, I feel, and this is how it is, and I feel, and I can lay it all out.
Do you feel like you're
fine.
not ready to talk about it because it hurts bringing it up if you're not healed?
Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's not. So it feels case by case for me, but I love seeing that. Yeah, like you said, it's almost down the middle. Some people are okay with it, and majority are still having a hard time sharing.
Sometimes I think I'm a bit of an overshare, so I feel like I'm not. It's not that hard for me, but I also think that I go into it with confidence, knowing that the people I'm choosing to tell, I fully trust them.
Yeah, that is a game changer.
Like, I don't think I would just tell a stranger my deepest, darkest secrets, but sometimes I've just picked up on energy of people, and I will tell them things like that. So I think if you feel it back, just like you were saying, energy is reciprocal. And you got to be careful with things like that, obviously. But I think that there is this feeling of it's okay to tell this person something sometimes.
Absolutely.
And just knowing, be smart about who you share your stories with.
And again, if you're open and not all in your head and bogged down, you can
Get
actually
out of your
feel
own
those
way,
things.
people.
Yep. Yes. So this Super Soul sit down was so super soulful.
Do we do our soul takeaway though? What we're gonna do?
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do, I don't know if you guys follow me on social media at Jamie Alexander, but you are more than welcome to. But all month I'm talking about renewal of the mind. It has something that has to be done. I can see where my edges are rough and need a little polishing, and I think it's important. So I'm literally gonna take my personal experiences and what comes to my mind in the morning and just share. So far, I've been getting great feedback. Today it was about love, and you mentioned something earlier about believe in yourself, and that was one of my points today. If you don't believe something great is possible for you, you'll settle. Mm-hmm. I don't got time for that. YOLO. So
literally, life is too short. We don't have time for that.
No, and we can't take advantage. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stay focused on renewing my mind and my subconscious, and do the best I can with my discipline and listening to me and seeing what I need to move forward. About you?
Mine, just going back to believing in myself, I'm going to keep it very simple, and I'm going to just take away, these are 3 words, and literally believe those 3 words. And of course, we always want to know what you guys would do. We always want to do this together as a community. So AfterBuzz fans, please let us know. Write us in. And if you have any suggestions of next week's episode, we'll do the one coming out on Tuesday, tomorrow. So if you want us to cover anything specifically, please let us know.
Yes, and lastly, if you have any wild moments, like she went on a 1,100-mile walk, I moved to New York by myself, you've done some brave things. Have you guys had any wild moments where you're like, you know what, I need a change? If so, share it in the comments because we'd love to read it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been Super Soul Sit Down, same time, same place next week. I'm your host, Jamie Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram at Jamie Alexander.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at HeyJ, HAYJ_. We'll see you next Monday. Happy Labor Day, everyone.
Bye.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.